Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Friday episode of our 90-day challenge, an exciting journey of growth, knowledge and growth as we embark on a series of Go Lives on several captivating subjects. Over the 90 days, we invite you to join us to expand your knowledge and challenge your limits and maybe even ignite your passion for trying something new. In this series, we will delve into an array of topics to educate and inspire you. Together, we will explore health and well being, inspiration, utilizing the online space, expert business knowledge, and gardening, exploring all aspects of each subject. Please let us know your thoughts, ask any questions, comment, or react, and let us know where you're watching from and whether you're watching the replay or live. Okay, I think we're all ready to go. Today's presenters are Jose and Chari, and their subject is first steps to gardening. Go ahead, ladies.
Good morning, everyone. So good to see all of you wonderful ladies. So, gardening, as we learned last week, has a lot of benefits. And I have a quote here for gardening is the love of gardening is a seed once sown that never dies. Gertrude Jerkil. Um, and it's almost like eating peanuts, gardening. Once you start, you don't want to stop. And so we have a few points here though, because gardening, if you're going to start gardening, the best thing to do is make sure that the foundation of what you're doing is well prepared. And so things like selecting the location. Select a spot for your garden that receives adequate sunlight and a good drainage. You don't want your garden sitting in a puddle of water every time it rains, because then, as much as you think that maybe that water would be watering your garden, it's not going to do that, because some vegetables don't need as much watering. So most plants require at least 6 hours of direct sunlight per day. So if you have a spot around your home that you think you're going to want to use for your gardening, what you should do is that first thing in the morning as the sun comes up, check and see if there's sunlight there. Then at noon, check again if there's sunlight there. And then in the evening as well, late afternoon, check if there's sunlight there, and then late in the day. The best time to start preparing your garden is right now in the fall, because in the springtime, there's no time to start digging and adding soil and checking the pH and whatnot. So, right now is the best time to get started. Back to you, Chari.
Chari, you need to unmute.
Sorry about that. Okay, so yes, if you are a beginner, you start small first and then begin with a small garden or a few containers. This is help this will help you manage the space more effectively and prevent overwhelm as you learn the ropes. Yes, Josie.
And then understanding the zone. So, this is definitely an area as well to have to do a bit of studying, because there are three of us here on our morning breakfast club that are from Ontario, but I'm from the Muskoka area, and Elena is from 2 hours south of here, and Krista is further east of Elena. Now we all have um, somewhat of a different zone, and that means the hardiness, that the plant hardiness. So you have to choose. You have to know the plant hardiness zone to choose the plants that are suitable for the climate. The climate here isn't the same as 2 hours from here south and to another 2 hours south. And it also has to do with the soil quality. So this information helps you select the plants that will thrive in uh, the area's temperature and the weather conditions. Back to you.
Yes, of course, quality soil matters. Invest in quality soil or improve your existing soil with compost. Healthy soil is the foundation for strong and vibrant plants. Back to you, Josie.
And then watering wisely. If you're in an area where there's going to be adequate rain, you need to learn how to check to see if the ground needs watering, the plants need watering. And so by checking, just digging about an inch into the ground, if you find that the soil is damp, then that's you don't need to do extra watering. So learn the watering needs of your plants. Some plants need more watering than others. Like celery needs more watering. It makes sense because celery is almost all water, right? It's better to water deeply and less frequently than to water lightly every day. And that has something to do with the root. The roots will not grow deep if you're watering often. The water stays to the surface and the plants have no reason to search for water. So plant in the morning, water in the morning, sorry, to prevent disease and allow foliage to dry during the day. That's another very important one. I mostly use drip line because the water goes directly into the soil as opposed to a sprinkler that sprays into the air, and some of that water is evaporated and ends up on plants that like tomatoes. If you have a sprinkler, they don't like to have water on their leaves, and that's when the diseases are most likely to start. So back to you.
Yes, and then choose the right plants. Like here in Spain, always sunny and there is a winter, but not so much cold. So opt for plants that matches your garden's skill level and the conditions of your garden. Some plants are more forgiving for beginners. So do your research before purchasing.
That's right. And provide adequate spacing. We tend to want to put as much as we can in our little garden if we're starting, but it's better to learn to follow the instructions on the packages. They tell you the depth of the seed and how far apart to grow them. So give your plants enough space to grow. Crowded plants can lead to poor air circulation and increase susceptibility to pest and disease.
Yes, and mulch for moisture and weed control. We are doing this here. We mulch the leaves and the chips like wood, and then mulching helps retain soil moisture, suppresses weeds, and regulates soil temperature. Use organic mulch like wood chips, straw, and leaves.
That's right. There's many options. And then regular watering, regularly watering. It's
You're muted, Jose.
I knew I would do that. Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. So regular watering, regularly inspect your garden for pests, disease, and signs of nutrient deficiency. Prune and deadhead plants as needed to promote healthy growth. I'll give you an example of that. Again, the tomato plants, if you take out some of the leaves, which are specifically done, not just ripping off the leaves, but and even basil, as you nip the leaves of the basils, it helps the growth of the plant.
Yeah, be patient. Gardening takes time. Be patient with your plants and observe how they respond to different conditions. Learn from your successes and failures to improve over time. Josie?
And
And
remember,
remember,
gardening is a learning process. Don't be discouraged by initial challenges. They're all part of the journey. There are no gardeners that uh, don't make mistakes. That's part of the learning curve. Every year we have different, the weather changes, the temperatures are not the same. So every year it's not all about whether you were a good gardener or not. It's about also the conditions of that year. So don't be discouraged. There's as you gain experience and knowledge, you'll become more confident and skilled gardener. I learned a big lesson this year. I have beautiful celery growing, and I was not diligent in adding some wiring higher on my garden. And I woke up one morning and all my celery was gone. So, even though the deer have all the food they want around in the bush here in the woods, where we live in Muskoka, we got lots of trees and shrubs and whatnot, but they still got in my garden for the celery. So it must have been really good celery. So we'll say goodbye for now. That's all for our presentation, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jose and Chari. I have a question for each of you. For Jose, you said that you have to prepare your garden now in the fall. How do you do that? Like, what do you do? Do you just get the beds ready? Like, what do you do to get your garden ready? That's my question.
Yeah, again, I would take one day and see how much sunlight lands where you want to put your garden, first of all. If it's a shaded area, you're better off just getting plants that thrive in the shade. Even plants that thrive in the shade, they'll still need some sunlight. So if there's absolutely no sunlight there in that area, I wouldn't plant anything. But if it does get some sunlight, I would plant more lettuce, the leafies, any leaves. So leaves like lettuce and your spinach, your Swiss chard, things like that.
So, but you're not actually planting them in the fall. You're just
No,
planning.
Right now you see where your sun is landing, and then you would prepare your soil. So again, I would test the soil to see what the pH is, because if it's a low pH, your lettuce isn't going to grow. It needs to have a good pH. Then you go according to that. You would add some compost to bring up the pH and increase the nutrients in that area. And then it's not that you shouldn't plant tomatoes or peppers that really need sunlight. You can grow those in 5-gallon buckets, and they do extremely well. But you would put those where the sun is for sure 6 hours of sunlight.
Okay, great. Thank you. And for Chari, my question is, what in Spain, the soil is obviously different than it is here in Canada. What grows well in Spain?
Oh, it's a nice question, Krista. Thank you. Here in Spain, we usually grow like herbs. Actually, our soil here, especially in our place, is like mountainous. So we buy good soil to put it in the to put it in the soil also to make it good. Like herbs, we can grow it here because the sun is good and the weather is good. So and also like tomatoes and eggplants, like vegetable plants, we can grow it here. Most of the plants actually.
Great. Thank you, Chari. Okay, Darlene, what do you think of the presentation?
Just unmuting myself. Thank you. That was wonderful. Great job, Sherry and Josie. Wonderful. The love of gardening is a seed once sown that never dies. I really love that. That is so, it's perfect. It's just so true. And it's exactly how we need to treat ourselves and our business. We need adequate training. We need learning and growing to blossom and succeed in either to grow our garden or to grow our business. And it's also how we should prepare ourselves, like nourish from the ones who have come before us, who are already at the top of their field, right? Choosing the right people to look up to is like choosing the right plants for the type of soil that you have. We have to choose from the beginner stage to growing stage, and then we blossom and reach the top of our field. Like finding the proper ground for the seed, we need to plant that foundation, that solid foundation, before starting the learning process. So you're going to have ups and downs, just like that little seed. So be there for your business, just like you would tend to your seed, nourish it, be there for it, make sure you have the proper mindset for the journey, do everything you can to make sure that you're going to give that little seed and your business the ability to grow and succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. And you're so right. There's so many characteristics that are the same of gardening and our business. And patience is one of them, right? Letting your seed sow, right? I guess that's the right term, seed sow. And having patience. Okay, Pam, what'd you think?
I think it was a great presentation. Thank you, ladies. And good morning, everyone. It's a beautiful morning here. And we can compare our sewing and our gardening to our business. And I need to find some hardcore people like this because I live in Newfoundland. And my soil here in my area is not all good. My rhubarb died. Now, why do rhubarb die? That grows everywhere. Like, how come mine? But my husband blamed it on me because I planted my chives next to my rhubarb. Can you ladies put any inlight on that? Because I thought I was doing fine. I was keeping my garden in one spot. There's lots of sunlight. The sun rises there and it's there all day long except for late in the evening when it's on the back of it. So look, why? So I just asked another guy now to bring me some more rhubarb plant because I'm going to put it in a muddy spot out there. So I don't know, but they said the roots of the rhubarb grows down so far and hits the rock and then it dies. So I don't know. But I do know in the years gone by, when Mom and they used to do gardens, we used to collect kelp from seaweed. A lot of people calls it, I guess, but to us it's kelp from the beach, and we put it on the gardens in the springtime before they sit their potatoes. Because that's the most that they used to grow as root vegetables, right? Well, potatoes and turnips, and we grow some greens here. I must confess, I'm not much of a gardener when you can't even grow rhubarb. But like with anything, you got to have patience, because in our business, you plant a seed and it's all about the testing. You keep going back and make sure that that little seed is still in its place. Don't dig it up, but seed is in its place and keep watering it and keep feeding it. That's perfect, ladies. Thank you very much.
Jose, did you have some insight for Pam's rhubarb?
I do. So some vegetables don't like other things to be growing around them. So onions is one of the biggest things that you have to. But you know, the best thing about it is that you can always ask Google, can I grow rhubarb beside chives? Can I grow carrots beside celery? Can I grow? Because Google will tell you. Not all vegetables like to grow beside each other. They're very picky. So yeah, something to just check. But it's not always the gardener. I would try it again.
I love that. I love all the tips we're getting today. Okay, Tina, your turn.
Oh, girl, Pam, you said it. Patience, patience, patience. You definitely need that when gardening, especially if you're a beginner. I am definitely a novice gardener. I do very well with like containers, and I bought myself a tomato plant thinking I was going to have just a little feed of tomatoes this year. Well, between the rain and the heat, it just basically just froze. Honest to God, I couldn't even move any of the leaves on it. I don't know what happened. I did all the things. I think it just got too much water, and then, the sun was just too strong for it. I'm gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna do for my gardening area. But I appreciate all these tips and tricks. I think I'm gonna start with some herbs like Chari suggested. I could do those inside. Anyway, you know what? We have each season to keep trying again, don't we? As long as we stay plugged in and keep going.
Exactly. Thank you, Tina. So there you go, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our presentation today and received some awareness around this subject. I certainly did, that's for sure. We would love any feedback. As business owners, we are doing this 90-day challenge to expand our own knowledge as well. It only adds to our personal and business growth, which is important to each one of us. If being in a positive growth mindset environment appeals to you, and if you are at all curious about what we do, send us a message, and it would be our pleasure to enlighten you on all the benefits of this journey. And I have another quote for you. A garden is a grand teacher. It teaches patience and careful watchfulness. It teaches industry and thrift. Above all, it teaches entire trust. Gertrude Jekyll. So I'm signing off now, and I hope everybody has a fabulous Friday.